and we're going to be live.
All right. So, is everything, the sound and visual both okay?
Yes, sir, it's fine. Okay, I'll just start.
Dishika, you have to change your screen. We can see your screen, your download section, not the video.
Is it? 1 second. Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to the third day of PCDC by Arch College of Design and Business. After a successful fashion show at the majestic Amer Fort, today we are here gathered for a very insightful program. We are here today for a workshop on research papers. The research paper proceeding was launched at the Jaipur Literature Festival. We received a total of 60 research papers from across the globe, and 26 out of them got shortlisted. Today is a great opportunity for all the new design researchers to learn from Professor Bhargav Mistry. He is Dean Design Culture with Arch College of Design and Business, As a practicing design consultant for over 39 years, he has worked on multiple challenging projects across industrial and domestic products and equipment design. One of the most successful projects has also received an international patent, along with a diversified track record in the design, creative, and cultural industries. He also has 3 internationally acclaimed music albums. We welcome you, sir, to take on the workshop.
Thank you, Distrika, so much. Before we commence, I just want to ask a very silly question. Would I be able to see the faces of all the participants of this workshop who want to attend the workshop, that is?
No, sir.
All right. All right. So I'm okay. I'll assume that there are some participants there.
Yes, they've started joining in, sir.
Do you think it's better to wait for a while before we start?
Maybe a minute or so. We have 2 of them with us already. We have Shachi Jain joining in. We have Amit Sharma, who has joined in.
All right. Heritage Girls School from.
Yes, Amit Sharma, Heritage Girls School. Ridhima has also joined in, sir.
Wonderful. All right. Just give me a cue and then we'll start off.
Now we can start, sir, I think now.
All right. Okay, here we go. So we are going to discuss rather, this is called a workshop, but workshop would be actually fairly long, but still whatever we can within this. And when we talk about research, we specifically mean in this because we are in the design domain. We will talk mainly about the design research, right? And how one goes about doing a kind of research in design when you want to innovate something, when you want to find out what the needs are, go about the design process and come to a solution which can be acceptable at a wider level. So I will, first like to, address a few questions. Firstly, why do we do research? We do research because there is a deep curiosity within you. We don't do it just for the sake of doing it. If you have no passion to do, if you have no passion to be curious about something, to find out more and more details, I think doing research doesn't make any sense. Research is purely for people who have that deep desire to learn more and to find out facts from fiction, or what I'll say, assumptions. Ideas, thoughts, analysis, things which can be proved by you. Many a times we have this very loose habit of just speaking out statistics or speaking out some information which doesn't actually have a good base, and yet people believe it. Now, this is where research comes in, where you can disprove what are assumptions, if at all they are wrong, and what actually the facts are. And when you want to design something, this is very important, because many a times, in fact, most of the times, new products which are being designed are designed on assumptions that some product like this is needed, and oh, let's go about it. If a bright idea came to your mind and you feel good about it and you want to launch a product, but no good research has happened in the area of what is actually needed, what sort of challenges need to be addressed. So this is where design research comes in. So let me share with you some notes which you might like to jot down also, which will help the aspiring researchers. I'll start from the very basics of how many types of researches there are, how our research, the research work presented in 3 different forms. So let's just go to these. Let me share my screen and come to that. All right. Dipshika, are you able to see my screen? If you are, then I'll assume everyone else is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, like I say, design research, it's a critical step in creating the best user experience. See, user experience is very important. The moment you do something which is outside the user's needs, it remains just a piece of art or a piece of sculpture without hardly any function. So critical step in creating the best user experience, helping understand user behavior. Now, this is where research is required. User behavior, the user experience, and turning it into actionable insights in order to improve design. This is where design research comes. So whenever we write a research paper, these points must be kept in mind, along with the fact that you have an intense desire to do so. All right, let me move to the next one. Why do we do this research? Like I said, a unique area of your immense curiosity and passion, number 1. Number 2, it's a tool for building knowledge and facilitate further learning. Number 3, it's a means to understand issues and increases public awareness. That's also very important. The more research we do, the more public awareness happens, and more, in fact, we are spreading the design culture in that way. It helps us succeed in business. Oh, that goes without saying. Who doesn't want to? It allows us to disprove false assumptions and support the truth. This is the most important thing about doing research, because we have this, like I said, nasty habit of just assuming things without actually knowing. And based on these, even conflicts start, wars start, based on assumptions. Right. So it's a means to find, gauge, and seize opportunities. There are so many opportunities lying around in our environment, in the places where we live, that calls for some sort of research and knowledge-based things. So that's again very important. It promotes reading, writing, analyzing, and sharing valuable information rather than just spending time forwarding WhatsApp messages and just looking through Facebook, these and that. But actually reading, actually writing, which is original, also should be a habit inculcated for anyone intending to do research. And of course, nourishment an exercise for the mind. Now, what allows you to do this? So, let's compare. How do we do research? There are three terminologies. There are dissertations, there is thesis, and there is a research paper. You must have all heard about this. What is a dissertation? Let's compare it with a thesis and a research. Core is the same. See, like I've written below, common in all, introduction, literature, review, research, methodology, results, discussion, and conclusion, right? These are common in all. But in a dissertation, remember, it's written for a university degree or a diploma or a PhD. The research is done all by yourself in dissertation. In dissertation, it takes long. A dissertation could be 300, 400, 500 pages. It requires decent knowledge of new discoveries in order to infer conclusions. It's more like an academic book, and it consists of theories and arguments based on original research. Now let's look at that with thesis. Thesis is written during higher education to obtain an academic degree or qualification. It's more or less the same. It's a bit shorter, taking less time to complete comparatively. It includes a hypothesis. That's very important. Hypothesis. Hypothesis means it could be somewhere in between an assumption and truth. You have a gut feeling and you come up with a hypothesis, and I believe that this, and that. Now you are going to do further research to either prove it right or prove it wrong. So it includes a hypothesis based on your research work. It's same as an academic research paper, basically. And the data collected is based on hypothetical analysis of contents, right? All right. Now, a research paper. A research paper is generally done as a requirement for a classroom activity, or it's written for journals, scientific journals, design journals. It has to do with independent research and with description of the findings and so on. And the central thesis statement should gather evidence or data to prove the same. And it is an extension or expansion of the central thesis. Sometimes, let me also tell you another fact, that in different countries, there are different terminologies. For example, if a master's student wants to pursue PhD, thesis may not be the right word, dissertation may be the right word, but in the United States. Whereas in Europe, it's the other way around. So these things are there. So wherever one goes for, if it's studies, then you have to keep in mind that specific country or that specific university's terminologies and go according. Right. Now here is a content of whether dissertation, thesis. It starts with a preface, acknowledgement, list of figures, list of colored plate, list of abbreviations, whatever is applicable. It's not necessary that you may have colored plates all the time, but this is the flow of a thoroughly detailed dissertation. Chapters, it could be from chapter 1 to chapter, here I've written 7, but it could go on to 5 chapters or 10 chapters or whatever. And in the first introductory chapter, we write about research objectives, area of research, importance of research, limitations of the research. What are your limitations? Applications of study in the present. Chapter 2 will be about literature review, definitions, introduction to the subject of study, summary of literature review and gap analysis and so on, references. Chapter 3 will be research methods. What methods you employ to do your research? What are your research questions? What is the hypothesis? the research design tools and techniques, what tools you employ to collect data, information, the universe of study, the unit of analysis, what units you are using in your research. It could be different units for different findings. If it's measuring weight, then whether you're using what units, the metric or the foot-pound unit, and so on. Analysis of data, experiences during data. Chapter 4 about evolution of the subject. Origins, evolution, trends, case studies. Case studies, very important. Chapter 5, data analysis and interpretation, finding of the study. Chapter 7, recommendation. Now here in recommendations is where design ideation comes in. Now this is your concept stage. So see the amount of research you've done before you start designing or offering design solutions. That comes almost towards the end. And you ended up also with what is the scope of future research in this? That also you suggest. And then, of course, the tail endings of bibliography and appendix. So this is a basic outline structure of thesis or dissertation content. Design research is a user-focused approach that helps answer questions like, who are our users? Are they men? Are they women? Are they both? Are they children? Are they old people? Are they partially challenged? Are they anything other than human beings? Also, who are our users? What design challenges they face? Now, this one statement itself demands a lot of observation, a lot of time, a lot of questions. And how would they use this product, which purely depends on the behavioral studies that you've done. Now, when we talk of research, for instance, what is design research versus what is market research? This also in research, since the subject is research, we should know that design research looks at how customer will use and experience it, whereas in market it is focuses on purchase and sales of the product or service, right? Both are important. Design research, it's qualitative data when you are trying to answer the why behind customer behavior and interaction, whereas in market research, it is quantitative in nature. You are typically analyzing large data set to identify business insights, trends, demographics that speak to the market sector. So a combination of both these make your business successful. Now, what are the research methods? You would have heard of the primary, the secondary, and the evaluative. What is primary? Now, sometimes your research can start from a secondary research method, followed by primary, or sometimes primary, secondary, or sometimes even parallel. Now, what are these? Primary is usually gathering two types of information: exploratory, that is general open-ended research, and specific. Now, research used to solve a problem identified during the exploratory phase. That means you personally go observe, do your own primary research, ask questions. There are questionnaires designed in such a way that you get your answers to the users' needs and behaviors. Many a times the users even don't know what they want. So rather than assuming, it is important to ask the pertinent right questions. Many times wrong question can lead you to wrong. Now, what do I mean by wrong question? By wrong questions, a research questionnaire should never have just a yes and a no as an answer. It should be more than that, because otherwise it's pointless to ask such questions. We'll come to it a bit later. What is secondary research method? Existing data like books, you look around in your library, you talk to people, you search on the internet, you Google things. So that's all about secondary research. And what is evaluative research? That means you look at a specific problem to evaluate usability and interactions. And there are two types of these, summative and formative, right? Now, it's easy to understand that. Summative is emphasizes on the outcomes more than the process, looking at whether the desired effect is achieved or not. And the formative is used to strengthen idea being tested, monitoring the success of a certain process. So there are three research methods. Now here is a spiral, very well illustrated by Eric Sanders. First, what are your objectives? Second, what is the hypothesis? Third, what methods you utilize? Fourth, how you conduct it and how you synthesize. Now, what do we mean there? Objectives, the questions we are trying to answer, right? What do we need to know at this point in the design process? And what are the knowledge gaps that we need to fill? Hypothesis. These are what we believe, what we already know. And what are our team's assumptions? Or what do we think we understand about our users in terms of both behavior and potential solutions and so on. And then the methods, how you plan to fill in the gaps in your knowledge. Conduct, that means how you're going to conduct, gather the data and the method selected. And synthesize means answer research questions and prove or disprove hypotheses. Make sense of the data gathered to discover and what opportunities and implications exist in the design efforts. Now, framing questions is also very important. When you have to do observation, you have to do surveys with questionnaires. The very famous 5 whys, or not just whys, the W's and 1 how, right? So to facilitate this, actually, you know, I've tried it, many people have tried it, it works out very well. Who helps determine, I mean, the question based on who determines, you know, prospective audience, I mean, whom you are doing it for, and so on. One has to be very clear on that. What, it could be questions on clarifying what people exactly want, who wants it, what they want. When means how this product may be used. Where means in what context, what environment, what physical locations. Why means under the questions which understand the emotionality of it and the rationale of what the person is doing and the root reason for the behavior of the person. Now, what do we mean here? Sometimes people have, you know, certain habits and certain behaviors. For instance, what example can I give you? Even when you walk into let's say a kitchen and you want to turn on the gas stove, the knob turning from left to right goes, let's say, from off to full. But then there are many products where the opposite happens. So if there is another adjoining device or gadget in that room, which does the opposite of what you think it should do, only deep observation and, you know, things like these, accidents can occur. One example another good example I can give you is there are automobiles today where on the control panels with the right hand, you do the indication indicator lights and high beam and low beam of your this thing. And on the left are the wiper controls. And there are other cars which it is opposite. Now imagine what happens if you have two cars, one of this type and one of that type, and you shift from one to another. You see, these kind of fallacies can create problems. If you recall, just in 2019 or 18 was it, there was some Boeing, which Airbus 777, they suddenly disappeared, they vanished from the skies. Why? It was a design error of a similar type. Within fraction of a second, you're supposed to have a natural reaction to a certain alarm. And the automation took over and it would not allow a manual control. So by default, if you do real good research, you'll say, no, manual control should override auto control. Now that little design error made, I think, 3-4 planes, aircrafts vanish into the thin air. So it's important how the behavior of people. Hypothesis, methods, generating inspirations and ideas. I think we talked about this. So, by the way, when you generate inspirations and ideas, it's good to keep a good diary and take notes, do a lot of sketching, take photographs if you have to. Now we have modern techniques to use any other media in order to record things. Conduct, going to the field and conducting research, capturing, analyzing, that's right. Synthesis, finding data, meaning in the data, reading between the lines and not taking something observed at face value. This is very important. Many a times we have a tendency to, again, assume at face value. But it's important to read between the lines to understand the actual requirement. That is why this why data is more important than the what. So in synthesis, it's useful and helpful to ask, what am I learning? Does what I have learned change how we should frame the original research objective? Do we prove or disprove our hypothesis? Is there a pattern in data that suggests new design considerations? What are the implications? What am I designing? Do I need to change what design? So all these things are very important. And then finally, what is an abstract? I have seen many people writing abstracts before they even do the research. Now, this is absolutely absurd. Abstracts are written after you do the research. It's like a movie trailer. What is an abstract? It's like a movie trailer. It offers a preview. It highlights the key points and helps the audience decide whether to view the entire work or not. If you don't like the trailer, you don't invest in seeing the film or reading the book. Generally, it's about 300 words. So the abstract has to be attractive enough and it has to cover all aspects. So how do you write an abstract? Begin writing the abstract after writing the paper. Pick out the major objectives, hypotheses, and conclusions from the paper. Select the key sentences and phrases from the methods section. Identify the major results from the results section. Arrange the sentences and phrases which you got in steps 2 and 3 and 4 into a single paragraph, a short single paragraph, in the following sequence: introduction, methods, results, and conclusions. Make sure that the paragraph does not contain new information that is not present in your research paper. Very important. It should not have undefined abbreviations or group names. A discussion of previous literature or reference citations or unnecessarily details about the methods used. right? These are strict no. Remove the extra information and then link sentences to ensure that the information flows well in the following order: purpose, basic design study, methodology, techniques, major findings, summary, conclusions, implications, and so on. Confirm that there is consistency between the information present in the abstract and in the paper. They should be well aligned in terms of its content. And then the best test is to ask a colleague to review your abstract and check if the purpose, aim, methods, and conclusions are stated clearly. And check if the final abstract meets the guidelines of the target journal or wherever you want to send in the research. Its word limits, type of abstract, recommended subheadings, and so on. So this is something that I wanted to share with you so far as how to go about the research, understand what thesis is, dissertation is, what research paper is, what are the steps, the reason for doing it, and how observation is very important, how writing the correct questions and foregoing the assumptions is very important, and so on. Now, very quickly, I'll also, how much time do we have, Dipshika?
So we have around 20 minutes.
I'll quickly run through some research works through which designs have evolved. Quickly, I'll run through these of some of my students. A thing called Rocking Frogs. It's for children of a certain age group. Toys. How? It was a graduation project by Kevin, and I was the guide there. Okay, these are approvals. So the company was Flintobox. So see the way the flow of presentation is in this research. The project brief is there. I won't read all this. It will you can take references later, but just give you a structural idea of how it goes. The settings. Now, this is done in an innovative way, rather than writing contents that you say the settings, because this person likes to write fiction books also. So, who are the protagonists and what is the backstory? By protagonist, what does it mean? Who will partake from this? Growth and development milestones, parents, environment, so on. History of toys, this is the backstory, all right. And then the plot and the resolution, redefining the brief, design directions, concept developments of costing, feedback. See the way even colors are used. Now talk about the protagonist. So these are the type of people that you study and you work out how their the brains perceive things for children, designing toys, how the physical development of this age group goes, what happens between 12 and 24 months, the motor, the adaptive, the language, the social, all these. See, these are very well studied through questionnaires. What are the sleep? This, by the way, you can call secondary data. It's not yet primary. Primary will come later. Okay, this is primary data. Now, going to parents and studying their interaction between children and them, in which environment they go. So these are also studied. So a lot of data is collected like this at the primary level. Then interview with pediatrician, child psychologists, and then the backstory means a brief. Now again, you come back to secondary research. You can interview primary and secondary. So a brief timeline on toys all the way till late 2000s, then toy safety and regulations, the materials used, the end-to-end process, competitors, who are your competitors, Parallel products, this is market research. Who are your parallel products in competition? What are the existing products? And then will come the ideation phase, the plot. Now this, what happens is that then after doing all this research, you realize that I need to redefine my brief. So it's redesigned here. Direction for ideation. You do mind mapping and brainstorming for ideas, then you come up with concepts, many concepts through doodling, sketching, brainstorming, right? So all this is part of your research, paper and ideation, until you come to the conclusion. So through so many different variations and alterations in your thinking and designing, you will come up with the final design which fits the bill well. I'll now jump to that. So these are the refined concepts. And finally, the selected concepts, how, and there you go. So this is what Flinto Box considered as their good. And then you do, of course, user testing, very important. Because without testing, then again, you may land up with issues which may fail your product. So after testing, you have to reiterate and make changes and come back again. So you refine the concept again after user study. You realize that, oh, it's not accepted well. Instead of using the toy in this way, they are just throwing it around and doing something else. So you come up with a better solution. So that's called iteration. So through iteration, you come up with better and new concepts. And quick review of that, and another user testing. Yes, it's not so easy. You have to be patient also. And then the product development, once again, exploring forms, the aesthetics, the color schemes, and see what goes with what. So many different shapes that you can choose from. I mean, that's your own ideation. So many different color palettes to choose from. And then the product graphics. See in how great detail a product design as simple as a toy demands if you go through the correct research methodology. See? Now this finally is the production drawing for that, how it will be manufactured. So this is the final stage. After all the testing is done, and so on. And the final design is here. This is what it looks like. It rocks around, and children love to put different, with a story. It has a story behind it. The sailors and the boat, and this way you learn colors, you learn things of balance, and then the collaterals with it. What the picture book is like, what are the illustrations, the story. And this is how the story will be told by the parents when they teach their children how to use this toy. And once done, it's a whole packet of a new design. So, a fairly extensive, already on 83rd page, but this is very illustrative. And the resolution, that means the costing, very important. I mean, if it has to succeed in business. And the feedback, and you get user feedback, how they liked it or disliked it, how they use it. So this, I would say, is, and then the conclusion, is a complete method, acknowledgement, references, citations, including TED Talks attended or heard. There you go. Now I feel like stopping share screen because it's been rather a lengthy monologue. Let me see how I stop sharing. 1 second. Okay. the moment.
So you can click on stop share.
Where that button is. My screen, where is that? Stop share. Yeah, that's it. This. Oh, there you go. Okay, it was hidden behind so many layers of windows. All right, so an ideal workshop would also mean that whoever is interested in doing this research, I will strongly suggest that you please find out something of your passion that you'd like to work on in terms of designing something new. Look around, don't take up obvious things. Don't take up things like, oh, this phone is, I'd like to make it look better. No. Go in for a real need. Find out what people actually want, and that will require research. And then ideate. So if I had it my way, I will ask each one of you here to come up with at least 5 absolutely authentic, original areas of research that you'd like to do, which will help design or fill in the gap between need and by design, right? And stay in touch with us. Mail it to Dipshika here. And anyone interested in taking it further, please contact us. I'd be very interested in doing the research with whoever wants to do it. Right? So this much from my side now. Is there any questions or any comments or anything? I'm open to that. Otherwise, I leave the handling of the clock and the screen in Dipshika's controls.
The attendees for the webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. You can write them for us. We'll be happy to answer them.
Good. So I hope it was of and stay in touch. If you have questions which crop up later, contact us and you.
Thank you, sir. This session was indeed an insightful one. I'm sure everyone took something for themselves and they'll carry on these points in their research. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, attendees. Stay tuned for the other programs in the Pink City Design Confluence. Thank you, everyone.
All right, bye.